Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 935, we're going to talk about the Boxing League. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the Boxing League is, the Boxing League is where we do it here at the shop, and we had to kind of craft our own rules for it. But it runs from standard release to standard release, so it ran from Dominaria United to Brothers War, and Brothers War to New Fire X, or to All Will Be One. And then we just started All Will Be One, and it will run to March of the Machines. So, what it is you buy a booster box, any kind, any set, does not matter to me, and you create a commander deck out of that booster box. Yes, it has to be legal, one of, color identity, no ban cards, the whole nine. And you play with it. Now, each week you get to add a pack to your pool. And sometimes you get several cards you can use, and sometimes I got nothing I could use. So, that being what it is, this is my Boxing League deck. Now, the way I personally run the Boxing League here is I don't want it to be super competitive or win-based, because y'all know how I feel about Commander. What I do with it here is at the end of each Boxing League, everybody in the Boxing League vote. Whatever your criteria for your vote is, but it doesn't matter who. If you're voting for the deck, a lot of times people end up with two decks. And then that way, whoever wins the Boxing League wins a box. Essentially, they win entry into the next one, whatever. So I give away a box every time. So, but that is the brief lowdown. Now, I started with Brothers War set boosters. I learned from Dominaria that I needed to do set boosters instead of draft. Yeah, you get more commons and uncommons, but you get pretty much all those that you need anyway. And we were lucky enough to get one of the Commander deck cards out of my set. Urza, Chief Artificier. Now, preface this with saying I'm going to leave this deck as it is. Deck number 935 here is going to be a snapshot of this Boxing League time frame. I'm not changing it, not even the variants. This is how it's going to be. So, for 6 mana, we got a 4/5 just in case. We all need to read Urza here. Affinity for artifact creatures. Big difference. And then artifact creatures you control have Menace. That is huge. But the big game-winning part was, at the beginning of your end step, create a construct. That's major. Now, most of what my deck is artifact creatures. So the 3 colors, you don't have a whole lot of, specialty lands or whatnot in a Boxing League deck. So you do the best you can. But we will look at, now this is the end result. We will look at exactly what my deck had in it. I wonder if that's too close. Do I need to? So we've got Ornithopter of Paradise. Now, I guess before I get into it, this deck I will re-sleeve because these are custom sleeves that I had made from Dragon Shield, our good partners over at Dragon Shield. Now, there's only 4 sets of these on the planet. I have one. Jim has one. Jake has one. Those are the 2 guys that work with me at the shop. And then I gave one to the 2022 Invitational Champion. I made these long before I fixed my logo, stuff like that. So I'm retiring this design, and the new designs will have the logo on it. So wanted to cover that. But anyway, Ornithopter of Paradise, great pick. Artifact creature, taps for any color. We're playing 3 colors. That's what it's all about. Burnished Heart, Mox Amber, Decanter of Endless Water, Foundry Inspector, like I said, most of my creatures are artifacts. A Chromatic Lantern. I love this particular Brothers War just has those extra 63 artifacts really, really make for a better Boxing League deck. The only downside is most people ran Urza, Mishra, Megatron, or Optimus. That's it, you know. Pristine Talisman. I got the Cloud Key to choose artifacts. Now, Semblance Anvil. I love the Semblance Anvil tech here because enters the battlefield, you exile a non-land card from your hand. Spells you cast that share a card type with it cost 2 less. You want to exile an artifact creature. That way you've got essentially 2 different categories. You've got artifacts and you've got creatures that both cost 2 less. And then the good old Quicksilver Amulet. We do have some things that are on the more expensive side. Now, for card draw, Stern Lesson. Now, that Power Stone mechanic there, woo. Not only do the Power Stones help with your ramp, which there's almost no drawback, the mana can't be spent to cast non-creature or non-artifact spells, but it counts as another artifact for your construct. And then I pulled a Gruesome Realization for card draw. Now, I only have 6 creatures that are not artifact creatures. We'll get to those first. The Great Desert Prospector is worth its weight in gold. Create a tapped Power Stone for each other creature you control. That's silly because a lot of times it's essentially free. I'll get 5 Power Stones out of it. Of course, I got Baby Urza. The Geology Enthusiast is pretty neat. All 3 of those things that she does is quite good. Just for having her out there, we get a Power Stone at the end of the turn. And then 6 mana, draw a card and put a 1/1 counter on her. Now, for the record, we can use our Power Stones for that. Right? Yeah. So she gets bigger. We draw a card. I have our good old buddy Tawnos, Angelic Curator. Now, the reason why I kept this one in there is because it is protection from artifacts, and there was quite a bit of those running around in the Urza Boxing League season. And then one of the last packs I got, I pulled the Ancient Gold Dragon. It was just too good not to play. So, it's kind of on the high end, the 710. So let's look at our... well, this is just miscellaneous. That's all there is. We have a Johnny Strength of the Pride, a little bit of life gain, a little bit of cats, the Urza's Command, I really like this. You get a Power Stone, you get a Construct. That's mainly what I used it for because I was focused on making constructs. I was just biding my time until the constructs could do all the things Painful Quandary, I didn't want to run, but let's be honest, it's kind of too good to not to. So, and then Gix's Command. Destroy each creature with power 2 or less, return, blah, Now, let's look at our non-creature artifacts. These are just regular old artifacts, like Ivory Tower. There's not I noticed in the Boxing League, there's not a lot of commander damage happening, so the regular gaining life, not bad. Journeyer's Kite. While this is not ramp, no matter what I thought 15 years ago, it does allow you to drop a land every single turn. Swiftfoot Boots, I don't have to sell you on that. Thopter Shop, because it makes more artifact creatures. The Stasis Coffin. We'll use Thompson's Coffin here and just jump in and I'll gain protection from everything to my next turn. So the Temporal Anchor. Now, this was the first deck I've ever cast used Temporal Anchor. Not bad. Not bad at all. I like it. And then the Helm of the Host. The legendary thing here, ignoring the legend, if I was ever able to get Helm of the Host on Urza itself, because that made another Urza, and that Urza made more constructs. You see where I'm going? It's silly. Oh, it's silly. So, let's look at our artifact creatures. Now, a lot of these are not special. They are in there because they are, in fact, just artifact creatures. And, you know, when you're dealing with a limited card pool, sometimes you just need creatures to be on the board so you can turn them sideways, right? The self-assembler, the amount of assembly workers in here was way more than I thought it was. It always helped. Sojourner's Companion, Reconstructed Thopter, Worm Coil Engine. Yeah, that one's insane. That's another good one that I like to put the Helm of the Host on. Liberator Urza's Battle Thopter. Another first for me to play this card. And wow, this has got, I mean, it's got its own Oreg, essentially. Yeah, it's silly. The Terror Ballista. I did get a couple of collector packs here and there through the period. Phyrexian Revoker, Prowl, Ratchet, Soundwave, Platinum Angel, and now we just get into pretty much rank and file. Hulking Metamorph, I really like this one. Autonomous Assembler is an assembly worker. That's pretty good. Goring Warplow, Surge Engine, Scrap Rager, Teresian Mindbreaker, Spectrum Sentinel, Combat Thresher, Sanctuary Raptor, Combat Courier, Suchi Cave Guard, Shardalian Dragon, Argivian Avenger, and one of my personal, the Tower Worker, the Power Plant Worker, and the Mind Worker. I'm glad they did that throwback to the Urza lands. So, it was really neat. Now, removal-wise, besides my guys are just going to overwhelm you and you have to block, I did have a little bit of removal. I kind of count Counterspell as a removal. Now, granted, it's probably the best card in the deck, so I tend to use it when it matters. Tragic Fall, -3/-3, or -13/-13, because that, happens more than you think in a format where you don't get to sculpt your deck the way you want to. Go for the Throat. Not as effective in this particular time frame when everybody's running artifact creatures, but still works, right? Disenchant was an MVP, and then, of course, so was Defabricate. And that brings me to my non-basic lands. So, my non-basic lands are, yes, I had the Evolving Wilds. The Blast Zone, I really like the Blast Zone. I did get an Urza Saga out of that pack, so I can get, another way to produce constructs. I love it. The Dig Site, and lastly, the Underground River. And that is my whole Boxing League deck. Now, I will, in future Boxing Leagues, like the one that I have right now, that I started for All Will Be One, I am not going to keep it as it is. I am playing Elish Norn. Yeah, I opened my box, and I got the Norn, and I got it. Most of my rares were white. And I was like, well, I'm supposed to, but I'm having to play way more lands than I should. So, You know what? I think I'll just leave this deck in these sleeves because I was going to de-sleeve it and just use this as my boxing league sleeves. But if I do that, they will just get worn out a lot. But that is my boxing league deck. I had a ton of fun with it. I haven't played my new deck yet. We have got it, and we've got it going. So, if you're in the area, if you want to stop by and jam some boxing league, I don't know. I just don't know how this deck's going to do. I'm having to play 53 planes in that. So I still got to get a couple more packs because I'm behind on packs in it now. But anyway, I'm just rambling. I appreciate y'all watching. Thank y'all so much. But right now, we are going to shuffle and cut.